depends on how you're feeling about things today. If you're ready to just go out there and get it, by all means. But these are going to be standing poses, working with our big muscles. And so what I typically do will be kind of ease myself into it the first time, and and just really work the pathway of how the muscles or nerves and everything are working. And then as I go, make it more intense, more deep into the pose. And so that's really what I recommend. Let me see where we're starting. Yeah. So put your mat, the short end, at the wall. Let me turn my. I got shit all my stuff. I'm so proud. I'm feeling very organized. All right. So we can use the wall for our Tadasana. Every once in a while, it's a good idea to just check yourself. I don't know about you. Maybe you don't have these problems, but I think most of us do. Finding ourselves falling into a pattern of acting or behaving is really not in our best interest. We don't do that because we're self-destructive. And we do that, I think, just because we're people, and we either react to a situation that's around us, or we give in to a tendency that's within us physically. My example, it's an interesting kind of history, because when I was very young, like 12, 13 years old, I was sort of bosom-ish. So I wanted my shoulders like this. I did not want anybody to see those things, right? And then, and after breast cancer, the muscle goes over this little implant that looks like a boob. And so it's tight, and it makes the shoulders want to go forward, right? Well, if the shoulders go forward, the tailbone goes backward, and it's a mess. Just what this little bit does. And so I finally figured it out for myself again. And so then I learned that if I just pull my shoulders back, it just, and I mean, I know this, but when you've fallen into a negative habit, and then you correct it, even though you knew better to start with, it's like a whole new day. It is in my world anyway. So start with your heels at the wall. What I'm saying is, be willing to check yourself and make adjustments. And then step out from the wall, because we don't really have to touch the wall. I like for the hips to either very lightly touch the wall or just be an inch or so away. And you can have your feet just under your hips. They don't have to touch. Your toes don't have to touch. And then soften your knees, adjust your pelvis, stretch up through the inner legs. And you can activate that by kind of scrubbing the heels inward and lifting up your toes and really turning your legs on. We don't have to do any more than that right this minute. Just turn your legs on. Keep them on as you let your toes come back to the floor. Feel how that impacted your hips. We're going to talk about these upper thighs, outer hips, right there at that hip joint. If you activated your hips, this part of your leg should have become a little engaged, somewhat engaged, narrowed, we say, narrowed. And the low abs should be engaged, and the lower glutes should be engaged by this strong leg action. Okay, so from just below your navel down, it's turned on. All your muscles are turned on. Then from there, there's a different sensitivity. From there, you maintain that, and then you think of letting the trunk lift and spread and be supported by those strong legs and the base that you've created. Your breath becomes very important in that process. So I'm going to be quiet a minute, and I'm going to let you take several nice breaths. As you inhale, think about lifting and spreading across the front of your body. And as you exhale, let that just flow down your shoulders, soften the trapezius muscles. It's these muscles right here between your neck and your shoulder. Let those muscles soften, let your tailbone move in, and then up, spread, back, also spread, but support. Legs are strong. We're enlivening the trunk. Now with that, add your arms. So here, I want you to maintain all of that, keep that breath going, draw your shoulder blades back, not so much that as they pinch together, but they suggest that if you do much more, they're going to pinch together. It's a good kind of a pinch. They're going to come together, but not quite that much. And as you inhale, lift up through your trunk, feel the shoulder blades on the back of the ribs. As you exhale, maintain that lift and firm the muscles of your arms into the bone. Extend the palms and fingers and keep your breath going. Finally, let that inhale move up through the neck. You might work it up to the base of your skull. Again, coming up the front, arching over that top where the head and the neck meet, and go down the back of the neck to the tailbone. And you could take it even further to the crown of your head, so that we feel all together that we've taken a moment to collect ourselves. Now maintain all of that wonderful feeling. To take the arms to the side, you're going to want to activate these upper shoulders, arms right at the shoulder socket, right? So revolve your arms, and if you're a person that has a shoulder problem, it's fine to bring your arms forward instead. But I wanted to activate this joint either way. Revolve your palms up, maintain your whole posture. Get your hips are close to the wall. Again, they don't have to be touching, but they shouldn't be more than an inch or so. So engage the muscles in your shoulders and your upper arms so that you feel a strength there, just like you do at the top of your leg. Extend your arms, feel the strength, drag your thumbs up the wall. And when you find a spot that makes you sort of hesitate and release a little bit, notice that, and then make an objective decision. Was that just a reflex, or was that an issue, or what? And make sure that you maintain the posture. Pull your arms back toward the wall, whether they're touching or not. Pull them back. And go up. Lengthen your waist. Soften the ribs. And then keep the lift as you bring your arms down. I noticed that some of you are having trouble getting your arms back. And what may help with that is to grab a strap. Two things. Grab a strap, and we're going to take the arms up from the front. Okay? And even if you didn't have a problem, it's worth trying. It's different. It reaches different muscles. Okay, we're not going to take this long here. We took 10 minutes to stand up, so we need to get going. But, okay, so the feet are hip width, toes are in slightly. Scrub the heels in, lift your toes up for a moment. Feel that lift come up, mainly through your inner thighs. Hit your glutes. Feel the outer thighs firm in. Take a breath or two. Feel the strength of the legs, and then let that lift come up through your trunk. Remember the circular breath. And hold the belt. You see how my belt is down by my thighs? My thumbs are touching just the, excuse me, just the outer thigh. If you need more space, take it. Let's see if we can get the arms up higher. Okay, so keep your posture. Pull the belt apart. Pull the belt apart as you come up. Now firm your tailbone, lower abs, lift your chest, keep pulling up and back. Maybe you can get your knuckles to the wall. Oh, I see some improvement. Good. Keep breathing. And then come down. All right. So that was good. And I think I really want to talk today about, paying attention to yourself, noticing when you're doing something that's not serving you and it's causing you a problem or keeping you from doing something that you want. What could you do different? Okay, so we're going to do Utkatasana. You can keep the belt. I'm sorry. Let's keep the belt. It's going to make it easier. Going to stand away from the wall. Lean your hips back into the wall. Turns out now that this is being taught with the trunk forward, which I think is a blessing. All right. What I think, and it's a leftover from my teaching from years, is that while we want to make this strong effort through the legs and the front body, as if we could, let's all sit down like this, okay? Take your feet out a little more and just sit down with your trunk, whole trunk on the wall, and keep moving your feet out until you can get down to 90 degrees. And then hold your belt and bring your arms up. Keep pulling the belt, draw the shoulder blades in, and breathe. So that has one kind of action. It's almost all in the quads. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to have to repeat that one. Okay, come up. This is pretty clear. It's not that it's anything bad. It's just to notice what it is and decide if that's what you need right now. Okay. Then bring your feet in a bit closer. And we're going to let the trunk come away from the wall, maybe 15 degrees or so, 15, 20 degrees, not forward so much, but it doesn't have to stay straight up. So we're going to let our trunk come out a bit. Be willing to move your feet, to bring your thighs down, parallel to the floor. Bring your arms up and breathe. All right, come up. Good. So you still felt the quads, but there was more going on when we leaned forward a little bit. It's different. All right. Let's just do the simple Uttanasana with your hands on the wall. Okay. So I'm gonna go to the side, just so you don't have to look at my behind all the cleanse. I'm good. Okay. So you're going to go to the wall. This is the Uttanasana. And the purpose of this is to activate the muscles more on the back of the leg, in the glutes, and the lower abs. You'll also, again, get some shoulder work. Okay? So you're going to put your hands a little lower than shoulder height now. You may walk them down a little bit. Put them on the wall where you can work. So we're going to walk our feet out. Get a pretty good extension and have your, if you can, have your hands shoulder height. Then we're going to have the feet hip width, toe in just slightly, scrub the heels. You can lift the toes again. I think it's helpful to lift the toes for just a moment. And begin to draw your hips back, your kneecaps up, and feel that action. Be willing to adjust your hands. Feel the extension here. Keep the heels active. Feel the spread in the top thighs. Now think about those upper outer thighs. Draw them back. Keep a big breath going. And then walk in and stand up. To me, that is always surprisingly vigorous. It's like, really? But it's more vigorous than I think it looks. Virabhadrasana 1. So these are going to be, these poses are slight back bend. There's a little bit of more back bending action involved and a little more for the hip. So if you're having a hip issue, if they're being cranky, be sure you're working these muscles on the side, okay? So we're gonna put our fingers on the wall. We're gonna step in, and it's best if you put your toes up the wall so that the sole of your foot or the ball of your foot is what's more pressing the wall. That's a good stretch for your toes. We don't think about doing that very often. Now, lean forward and step way, way back. And then look and see, are you aligned pretty much heel to arch? Wall work has its awkwardness, but it also has its benefit. Okay, now you can lift up the back heel to really, really turn that left hip toward the wall and pull the right hip away from the wall. Then your hands are shoulder height. Your shoulders are retracted, head is back. We're just waiting for the hips to catch up. And then when that subsides, can you stretch the back heel toward the wall? The front knee can be bent still. Pull that right hip away from the wall, left hip toward the wall, lift your chest. You can be on fingertips, or when we get closer, you can go to the palm, okay? Now retract your shoulders, tailbone in, lift your chest. Now then, keep all of that. The back heel, tailbone, pubic bone, chest lifting, shoulders retracting, head back. As you bend that knee, watch all of those details. Go slow, watch. Keep breathing. And then come up. Just realize my chair is in the way. All right, let's come up. Switch sides. So put your left toes up the wall. Step way back, way, way back with your right leg. Let that back hip come up, the back heel come up, and turn the right hip toward the wall and pull the left hip away from the wall. and observe which one is easier, or at least easier for you to think you're doing. With some action. And my response to that is on my right hip is more mobile. It can move around and make me think I'm doing something. My left hip, however, is very static. It's fixed. So to make that action takes a bit more internal work. See if you can get some kind of equal attention between the two sides. And then keep that as you take the heel down and draw your tailbone in and up. Lift up through the abdomen. Lift your chest up and retract your shoulders. So let's put the puzzle back together in this, distorted or extended position. Keep all of that. Begin to bend your left knee. You're going to do your very best to keep that right heel down, but if it's going to stop you from bending the knee, then let it come up a little bit, but just make it work all the way. Draw your abdomen up, lift your chest up, retract your shoulders, and breathe. And then come up and step out. Take a moment. So we're going to repeat that. Did you catch the idea that that we get caught? I get caught at least. Oh, I did something with something that was, I did the right thing. I brought my hip forward, but the work on the static leg is much more challenging, not physically, but mentally challenging, because I think I'm there, I'm okay, right? And so I'm just confessing here. So see if you have some of those tendencies and notice yourself. That's what yoga is for. It's for us to know ourselves. Right foot forward. Left foot way back. Step way back. It feels a little better the second time usually. So knowing the tendency, pull your right hip back. Let the left hip be moved by the right hip, and then see, can you hold that square? The hips, we're trying to get them equidistant to the wall, and take the heel down, and then draw the tailbone in, lift up through the abdomen, lift the chest, retract the shoulders, lift up a little bit, look up a little bit, and breathe, and keep all of that sitting on the back leg. Another thing to notice in this pose is that the minute, this went on for decades, the minute I would bend my knee, my belly would just release to help me. So push the wall and get a little resistance, helping you lift your trunk, lift your belly, lift your chest up, and breathe. And then come up. Square up, step out, change sides, left toes up, step way back, check your alignment. Then, we all ready? Pull the left thigh back and up. That's, Mr. Eingar calls that the stable intelligence. That's the part that's more stable at this point. And the right hip is the more mobile intelligence. So now bring your right hip closer to the wall. Move it forward. Then let's stretch the heel back. Can you keep that and stretch the heel back? You may have to let it go a little bit and then re-stretch it. Draw the tailbone in. What does that do to your stable intelligence? Lift the pelvis up. chest up, retract your shoulders. Try to keep that right heel down as you bend your left knee. Woo. Press the wall a little bit to help you equalize the hips, lift the trunk and chest, draw the shoulder blades back, look up a little bit, and breathe. And then come up. You can step out, square your feet. Okay, good. I had eggplant over the weekend. I think my ankle is telling me why I shouldn't. Then let's do, what are we doing? Oh. Let's work on Personified. Bring your chair over and a block or 2 blocks. Depend on your flexibility as to what you need. So let me give a quick demonstration. I'm going to turn my mat. I think you can see. I'm going to do this one. More to go. For some of you, the first position is going to be quite enough. I'm going to start. I'll do this one. Start with blocks. Have the chair ready. Right. So this is the one where the feet are wide apart. Blah, blah, all of this stuff that we're talking about. Lifting, paying attention, lifting the chest. If you see, shoulders go back, head goes up. Keep all of that increased right here and keep looking up. Keep the shoulders back, keep the head up a little bit and come down to where you can. It may be your hands are on the high end of the block, low end of the block, low end of the block, whatever. But then you're going to, and it may be the chair, that's all fine. Then you're going to really engage these legs. They're really on now. And this is lifting. And I've got to arch that back, draw the shoulders back, and breathe. That's it. Okay? Take it to there. Okay? Get ready. And if you have tighter hamstrings, use the chair. Because it's what I want, the work is to happen in here. If you have tighter hamstrings and you're trying to go too low, then you compensate. So if you especially if you're being cranky, if your legs are cranky, whatever, start higher. You can always go lower. If you start higher, you have a chance to install the right action before you put yourself in a strained position. So feet are apart. Roll those thighs. Feel this action on the outer thigh. Lift, tailbone, pubic bone. Lift your chest. Shoulders are back. Look up. Now keep all of that action. Double up on your legs. Lengthen your trunk. Bend at the hip crease. Come forward. Put your hands down. Re-engage from the feet up through the legs. Hit those inner thighs. And then, so right there in your hip, there's a lot of action going on. That's so healthy. Brings good circulation. That brings new energy. Then lengthen. Draw your abdomen up. Or bring your shoulders back and pull your chest forward and look forward. That feels like a weird position to me, but it helps that upper back go in. We're working on that right now. Now, if you're doing well here, you can bend your elbows and release your trunk down, but keep looking forward. Look forward, look forward. If you're on the more pliable side, you can walk your hands further back. You can go from the chair to the blocks or blocks to the floor. But if you're going to go forward, bring your hands back, push the floor. And again, draw the shoulder blades up and back, hit the inner hips in and back. These outer hips, outer hips in and back. Inner hips go back. Elbows go in, push the floor. And then come up. And stand up. That was a good idea. That worked our whole leg. You feel how that happened? Is everybody good with that? I want to repeat that. This was a pose that for me, it took a while. Let's just say it took a while. When I started yoga, my inner thighs were, oh my goodness. I couldn't stretch my legs. I couldn't open my legs wide. I couldn't do any of that stuff. And when you have a hang up like that, you tend to compensate somewhere else. The compensation was in my back, which made my back worse than it already was. So watch what you're doing and learn and be willing to modify until you can get these finer actions. It's a better plan, I can tell you from experience. Okay, let's go again. Legs wide, feet parallel, toes in slightly. Now, when I get to that, you see that my knees are a little bit bent. I'm fine with that. Let's get the pelvis and the trunk a little bit engaged. Draw up through the legs. Hit the thighs back and the tailbone in. Pubis up. Now we've got our warrior legs on. Lift the chest. Shoulders are back. Look up a little bit. Keep all of that action as you bend at the hip crease. Come down to where you were, or if things are going smoothly, go a little further, and then stop. Adjust through your legs again. Inner and outer thigh. Be very attentive and firm. Draw the abdomen up, shoulders back. Feel the crease in that upper back. If you're ready to go further, you press the floor forward. Walk your hands backward. And I usually sometimes will take a couple of moments. I go back to that concave spine. And then move into it. Draw your shoulders back. Draw those legs up. This is a lot in those hip sockets. And then come out. And walk your feet in. And stand. Whew, is that invigorating? When you work those great big muscles, what you do is you just create a whole lot of energy. And when you're stiffer, it makes it, I'm a wiggler, okay? I'm fine with getting into it and kind of wiggling around and then hitting it again and then trying to get into it, yes. So it can loosen it up. It can help. And sometimes we get a little linear, and it's really meant not to be so linear. It's softer. It softens it. So at any rate, all right, now then let's sit. And sit in Virasana. So you may, some of you may need a bolster to sit on also. And you can put the bolster, I'll get one. Or if a bolster is too big, You can use folded blankets, all right? But you sit. It's good to start with your knees on the floor. Don't start from standing up, especially if you have a big bolster. It's good to start here. What I like to do is lean forward and pull between my legs to get that thing. Anyway, you know, everybody's different proportion, but get that thing deep up behind your knees and kind of hold it and take some weight on it so it doesn't just squirt out the other side. That actually puts more pressure on the lower leg, on the ankles. And so, you know, well, maybe not everybody knows. People that have been in my class know that if you have trouble with your ankles in this pose, you can sit on a blanket. And here's the edge of the blanket. And I want to put the bend of my ankle right on that edge. You can also put a block in between your feet. And it can be different heights. And especially if you have a blanket behind your knees, you're going to need a taller block to sit on, right? So find a way to make this possible. And some of you, I know at least one will need to do this in the chair. I got a cramp in my toe. All right. So then everybody's ready? Well, good. All right. So then with this nice, we've taken care of ourselves in a situation that's challenging. Okay. We made it possible for us to get some benefit from this. The tendency for many people is to lean forward here. So bring your pelvis straight up. If you can reach your hands back, you can put your hands on your heels or on your toes. If you can reach back and get your knuckles, like you can extend your knuckles a little bit and press down on your toes, gives you a lot of options. You can also use blocks if you have extra, one on either side. But the point is to be able to lift your chest here and get your shoulders back and your tailbone and pubic bone in and your abdomen lifted and all of those things that we worked on throughout the class. And it helps to look up a little bit. It doesn't mean throw your head back. It means come from a horizontal view with your head up about 15 degrees. And notice what that did to the rest of you, especially in the abdominal area. And work all of those systems together. And breathe. All right, then let's relax out of that. And you can just come to the side or come forward and sit. And we're going to sit in Dandasana. If you need a blanket, use a blanket. Pull the hip flesh from the thighs out to the side. Stretch your legs together, balls of the big toes together. Draw your thighs back, draw your lower back, and keep that as you stretch your heels and the balls of the big toes forward. Put your fingertips just beside your hips. Draw your elbows toward one another, enough just to get a little tension in there, just to make them part of the pose. We're not trying to put our elbows together by any means, but to bring spread to the chest. Descend the shoulders, ascend the trunk. From the sit, up through the abdomen, up through the waist, up through the side body, shoulders down, up through the neck, to the crown of the head, and the head looks up just ever so slightly, maybe a little less than before. But elevating your view helps to lift your chest and breathe. Take a couple of breaths into your chest area. As you inhale, really broaden that area with your breath. And then as you exhale, keep that width and lift. And do that 2 more times. Broaden as you inhale, lift that chest. Keep that lift and width as you exhale. And when you've done that, maintain your posture. Carefully release your fingers from the floor. Put your hands on your upper thighs. See if you can keep that shape in your back. Can you see if you can keep that action in your legs? And then relax. Okay, so now we're ready for some pranayama, some breathing exercise. I'm going to turn my blanket on my mat horizontally now so you can see. All right. So we will need a blanket for your head. I usually fold mine this way. So it was this size. But it can be folded this way, okay, which was the same blanket. Just grab the front third of it and fold it over. And it gives you a little bit higher fold, more narrow. That one, be sure your head doesn't go back over it, that your face remains parallel to the floor. In fact, for pranayama, we like our chin down. Now, I'm going to give you an option here. If you have some upper back issues, this may be unavailable to you, but it's not as torturous as it looks. So can you see, I have one block on its second highest, this would be the lowest side. And if you can't make that height, you can start here on the lowest height and the second lowest height. If you can do that, then you can start here. If you've never done this before, you can try that. If you've done this before and you know how delicious it is, then you can take this one to its second height and this back one to its third height. The idea is we want this one lower than that one, okay? So set your blocks up either way. And if that's absolutely not going to happen, you can use your bolster and a blanket for your head, okay? Then when we lay down, we want the front edge of this block right here to touch us just below our shoulder blades. For women, well, men know where the woman's bra strap area is too. It's not a secret. So it's sort of the bra strap area. So you may need to make a couple of tries to find the right spot. There it is. And then before you lay down, do yourself a favor and lift your chest up as much as you can. And even though it's not possible to do what I say, pretend it is. Pretend you could lay it down from the the neck area, that's that seventh cervical, down from the top down to the bottom, rather than laying it down from the bottom to the top. It'll be more comfortable. And then adjust the block under your head to make sure that you feel really lined up. And then stretch your legs out. If you're wearing glasses, take them off. And take a moment to assess how you did. There he is. And if you make any adjustment, I made an adjustment so that you're feeling like you're well balanced. And then when you've done that, bring your feet together, bring your arms to the side, palms up. Take a few expanding breaths through your upper chest. Opening up this area between the chest muscles and the shoulder, the pectoral muscles. Some people, they're tight. So this is a nice way to soften those muscles. And let your breath consider softening your back onto the block, if that's where you are. But either way, soften your back. Let it accept that block. I know it's not a bolster, but it's going to really teach us something valuable. And we prepared for it all through class, this strong lift of the upper back. And then begin to relax through your hips and thighs. Don't take your legs apart just yet. Observe. Keep that nice breath. Then take your legs apart a little further. Resettle the skin of your legs so that everything feels just so. And begin just an intentional breath. Just a slow, steady inhale, a slow, steady exhale. Feel how the inhale can fill your chest even more than before. And then you can maintain the lift as you exhale. Feel the shoulder blades go down. Feel the breath from your belly up into your chest. There are a lot of ways to consider the breath at this point. I'm going to suggest that as you inhale, you feel the breath coming more into this, through the central channels on either side of your spine. But when it comes up to the upper back, let that expand from the channels on the either side of the spine to open the chest like a flower opening. Feel it spread and lift. And then as you exhale, keep that. You feel the central channel go down, but the breath, the chest remains, and inhaling, support and enhance the chest. Now then, on the next inhale, let's take 2 pauses. As you exhale completely, and then inhale and pause. Inhale more and pause. And inhale to the top. Pause just a moment. Keep the lift and exhale, all in one long breath. You can take a regular breath then in between, inhaling. And take your time. If this seems strenuous to you, take your time. Take more breaths in between. We're only going to do 1 more on this block, and then we're going to get off, so hang in there. Exhale completely. Inhale and pause. Inhale and pause. Inhale and pause. And exhale. Maintain the lift. Take a nice breath. Now put your forearms on the floor, bring your elbows under you, push yourself up to sitting. Sit in Dandasana for just a moment. Enjoy that lift of your chest. So legs are active, thighs draw back. Feel how lifted your chest is. Breathe into that openness. All right. Now let's just lay down for Shavasana. If you have your bolster there and don't need it, you have 2 choices. If your back is bothering you, you can put your legs over the bolster. But if your back is fine, then I'm going to recommend that you put the bolster on top of your thighs. So lay yourself down carefully, as we always do. We lay down by coming to the elbows, pushing the elbows forward. That pulls the hip flesh down as well. Let you arch your back as you lay down. Adjust your head support so that the blanket touches the top of your shoulders. See how your whole body feels as far as a straightness. And then put the bolster, if you're going to put it on top, put it right at the tops of your thighs. Relax your legs. So it goes across the top thighs and probably the pubis. Adjust your shoulder blades so they're nice and tucked under. Relax your legs. There. And then close your eyes. Letting the eyeballs relax back into the head so that the lids just close over them as a reaction. Notice how everything begins to release, and some things don't. So be grateful for what has released without much trouble from you. And focus on the areas that are a little resistant. One of my hips softens and the other one doesn't, for example. And so I've learned that if I clench the muscle and then release, they become more alike. So that kind of tightening and releasing, it doesn't have to be the most strength you can muster, but by just engaging and disengaging in an area, it may agree to let go. And you try that for a few breaths and then move on and keep that in your mind, but let's move on and move a little further inward, penetrating through the skin, noticing how the skin feels. It's interesting that we can carry tension just underneath the skin. So relax your skin. Isn't that funny? But it's very possible. Allow that softening to go deeper with each breath. Enjoy the spaciousness in the upper chest. Without working at the breath at all, but being purposeful. Allow the breath to expand and penetrate. Always breathing through your nose. Imagining how it would feel if that breath could be expanded, your awareness could expand to every cell, so that as you breathe, you can feel every cell in your body expanding and contracting with the breath. And again, you're probably going to notice that some areas are more available for that sensation than others. This can be an ongoing project for you. You begin to notice your areas that are a little more stuck. And you bring attention to them without diminishing the other areas that are easier to work with. We're looking for all-encompassing experience, sensational throughout our bodies. Just the act of breathing itself. And then relax. Let your breath be as it is. Let your body be as it is. Relax your eyes, relax your tongue. Keep your mouth, the lips closed. The jaw can relax a little. Teeth can move apart. Not too much, just a little. Draw your sense of hearing inward, your sense of smell inward, your sense of touch inward for just a few more breaths. Now, very slowly and gently begin to deepen your breath, noticing as you deepen your breath, the sensations, moving your awareness from deep inside back toward the surface. Then bend your elbows, wrists, fingers, move a bit. If you have a bolster on your legs, now is a good time to roll that off and bend your knees one at a time. Take a moment. Just maintain a nice, gentle breath for yourself. Now, traditionally, we roll to the right side. So bring your right arm up. If you have your bolster on the right, you could straighten your left leg, roll over, straighten your right leg and roll over and put your left leg on top of your bolster. This is wonderful for pregnant women. I know that's not anyone in here, but it still feels very open. Just celebrate that breath a little bit longer. And when you're on your own, you can definitely prolong this. I think it's pretty pleasant, but for now, we have to move along. So you have to push your bolster forward, roll forward, push yourself up to sitting. You can sit on your bolster or your blanket. And sit in any comfortable position. You can have straight legs, crossed legs, but sit tall. Arrange yourself thoughtfully. Arrange yourself so that your thighs are lower than your hips, or in line with or slightly lower than your hips. Don't bother with that right this minute, but that's the best way. Hands on your thighs, lightly resting, but so very gently, reminding us to lift the chest, bring the tailbone in, pubic bone in, shoulders go back, head goes back. Now bring your palms together. Let those thumbs rest just below the breast. And bring your elbows down. That allows two things. It brings your shoulders down, and it allows the heel of your hand to come closer in. Take a moment to be grateful for all the blessings of your life. And that's all for today. Namaste. Thank you for coming.